Hi, guys. Before we kick off our episode, I would like to say a quick and heartfelt thank you to Underfoods and its CEO, Asif. Asif, thank you very much. You continue to give us great service. The food is fantastic. Asanteni sana.
Hii jikoni ingekuwa ni ngoma, hiyo ngoma ingekuwa ina sound aje?
Hi, everyone. We're back at Ali Talks Tech. My name is Ali Hussein Kassim, and today I have Adelaide Odhiambo, one of the few InsurTech founders I've had the pleasure to interact with closely. So, Adelaide, karibu sana.
Asante.
Ali Talks Tech is all about telling our Pan-African tech stories.
Yeah.
And this is your opportunity to use the forum and the platform to talk to us about your story. Let's go to the beginning. How did you get into InsurTech, and what's your background? And then we'll take it from there.
So my background has always been, I would say, insurance. I studied actuarial science at the University of Nairobi.
You're an actuarist.
It's not an actuarist, actually.
It's actuarial science. So
Actuarial
what do you
science is the art, the science.
Is the science.
An actuary is the profession himself.
Okay.
And if you've not yet qualified for all the exams,
I see. So they are professional exams.
They are. They're about 16. I think they change and they fluctuate depending on the market that you actually see them. But if you're not yet fully qualified, you're like an actuarial trainee or a novice of some sort. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so a little bit about how I got into this space. I've been in the insurance space for...
Let's step back a bit. And
Okay.
I'm a bit fascinated about actuarial science.
Okay.
So tell us about that a bit,
So,
and then we can move
Actuarial
forward.
science is all about modeling risk and understanding and kind of trying to predict when specific risks will occur. Risks, as you can imagine, are quite versatile. There are risks around health, there are risks around the weather, there are risks around your life. And also, what an actuary ideally does is to predict when specific risks will occur. You take a certain population, and then you can be able to estimate that out of this population, maybe 6, 7, 10, and to some extent, it's in some products, even 80% of this population will have some kind of a shock. So we need to price that shock for this population. So we pool the risk that we have analyzed, and then we take a certain population, and we say that if we all pool a specific amount of premiums together, then the whole population will be safe in the event that this shock occurs.
Interesting.
So an actuary works in versatile markets. An actuary, the idea of prediction of risk can work when you're dealing with the stock exchange. You can work as an actuary in the economy space. As an actuary, governments require actuaries because you're dealing with entire nations.
Economies.
Like entire economies, exactly. You can work as an actuary in the bank. But we find ourselves morphing towards insurance because insurance is literally, I would say, the home of actuarial science, where risk and analysis of risk is very, very important. So that's really what an actuary does.
And that's where we hedge our risks.
Absolutely.
through
You want
insurance
to
premiums.
Exactly. You want to hedge your risk. You want to hedge your investments. You want to ensure that you have a safe retirement portfolio. It's quite versatile. It's a rich science. It's an exciting science. It's deep in analytics. It's really deep with mathematics as well and statistics. So sometimes my personality really clashes with the actuarial field because many people...
Expound on that.
Okay. So many people find me morphing towards partnerships and business, which I find is also a natural strength. But I do like my lonely moments, looking at models and defining and projecting. Even kind of expected revenues and incomes. It's something that gives me some kind of a high.
Okay.
But so I find it makes some kind of a multi-personality. By day, I'm out there all happy, building businesses, creating the right kind of networks. But at night, I really enjoy the solace of numbers and just analyzing those and looking at how the future kind of look like through mathematics.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, how did you get your beginnings in insurance?
So my beginnings, of course, by default, by studying actuarial science, the only kind of buzz was insurance, and I found myself working actually in second year. I was already in with CFC Life. I think it's Liberty Life now.
So you did your actuarial science degree in Kenya?
I did at the University of Nairobi.
Okay,
And by the second year, I was already doing an internship program with CFC, which quickly morphed into my part-time work over the holidays, which was really good. I managed to make some money before getting my official work. But I recall trying to toy around with being a doctor. And
A doctor?
A doctor, yes. And a lady who had known me, an Italian lady who had known me for so many years, she laughed and said, "You can never be a doctor." Then when I pointed to her that there's this new course in Kenya called Actuarial Science, it has mathematics, and she gave me the thumbs up. And it was such a validation because she'd known me for many years. And I found myself in the field of actuarial science, just marrying myself into CFC and in the insurance field, and just picking my steps from there. And from a very early stage, actually, even in campus, I was already trying to innovate products for the low income segment. Yeah, so
that's still with CFC?
No. I didn't design this. This was just my project in campus, where I was trying to build a product for domestic workers and for the security guards and all.
Which year was that?
I might just be able to preempt my age, but I'll take a bold risk.
So which
this is
which year in campus I meant? Third year?
This is third year, fourth year. Third year going to fourth year.
Okay.
But I graduated in 2007.
Okay.
Let me not be shy about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just found myself in the insurance space, getting the validation from someone who knew me very well that you're really more of a scientific person, mathematics, and whatever. And I found myself now growing into the insurance sphere from there. So I did the very, I would say, boring insurance work for close to 10 years.
Define boring.
Boring is your conventional insurance. You're either an underwriter, you're either working in the claims department, you're working with the pensioners, which was also part of my cloud. And then my life starts getting a little bit exciting when I find myself in a role as head of products in insurance. So I did experience quite some interesting phases through work. Every 2 years of the 10 years in the boring conventional insurance, I found myself growing in different fields and growing different departments, which will build up to how Blue Wave came to be birthed later. But I found myself in the very early years, this was Jubilee specifically, Jubilee Insurance, doing pensions, working with really large schemes, some of the largest schemes in the country, and just having the patience to understand what it is for people to actually have only this to live for the rest of their lives. And one wrong calculation, one wrong mistake can set them back. So doing pension admin, I would say, was boring but repetitive, and it gave me that structure of just doing work and work
and the foundations.
Foundation of work, exactly. So I very quickly got tired of that after 2 years, and I remember walking into my boss's office and saying, "I feel like I'm in a shelf, and the shelf is dusty, and I need you to get me out of this shelf. I needed just something else." And my clock always kept on ticking at 2 years. I needed some more. I literally needed a new challenge moving forward. So I managed to get a role as a project coordinator, which was a really
within the same company.
Within the same company.
So I must say you had a good boss.
I did. He listened. He listened, and the role was really, really exciting in the sense that I shadowed the CEOs of the different companies.
Interesting.
Yes, and I was to do analytics of industry data, and then help them when they're preparing their board papers and their decks and
wow.
everything. So I started understanding that it's not rocket science what these big guys in boardrooms do. And I was barely 4 years in working. So
How old were you, if you don't mind my asking? Then?
maybe I was just hitting my 30s. I was in late 20s, hitting my early 30s. And you're here and you're actually, late 20s, late 20s to be precise. And I'm sitting here, I'm going through these board papers, I'm looking at industry data, and I'm finally just snapping out of the phobia of what it is to run big companies. And you sit with them and sometimes you hear their jokes and they're like, these guys are just human, and they're human beings just like him. So that fear or that ambiguity around boardrooms kind of started.
CEOs,
CEOs,
C-level executives.
Yes, and
like they're demigods.
Yes, it completely just watered down completely. I was like, this is just human, and they're human beings, and you can hear even sometimes how they're arguing their points when you're shadowing them, and you're like, wow. Sometimes they even talk down on in some
by
cases,
board members.
yes, and I'm like, whoa. And they rise up, and the next board they're doing much better. So I kind of had a snippet. So out of that, I managed to get a higher role as well, and the company at the time was trying to create a footprint. And this is way before COVID. And I think it would have been magical if it sustained itself. They were condensing all their operations locally. And they were it was called a hub and spoke model, where the hub, Nairobi, would have all the operations, underwriting, claims processing of all the different markets across the region. They were setting up in Burundi, Mauritius, there's Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. And I landed as a supervisor for this project.
Interesting.
And there were some Francophone markets. I have no idea how to speak French, and we are trying to scramble over the nights to learn business French so that we can interpret some of our contracts. And it's this that I saw that you can actually condense business. And I used a lot of these experiences, especially how I was building Blue Wave. You don't necessarily have to have very expensive infrastructure, huge teams, technology, operations in every market that you go. You can create some kind of centralized ops system and then use that remotely, which worked very well for Blue Wave at some point when we set up in Malawi. And we didn't even step foot in Malawi, and we were serving almost 70,000 smallholder farmers.
Oh, wow.
I know. So it was incredible experience, and I was privileged to just sometimes be at the right place at the right time, maybe to speak to the right person, to show enthusiasm, reduce fear, and that kind of gave me just insights of how I was growing and developing in business.
You know, Adelaide, when you use the word privilege right now and lucky, it just sort of reminds me that many senior people, successful people, they always talk about, I was privileged to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
I was lucky to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting to be able to align that privilege and luck to actual hard work.
Indeed. I think I misspoke. Privilege will just take you maybe 3% of the journey. You just happened to be on the pathway of maybe a CEO, and you managed to do a very good report at some point. And through that report, they saw you for another role that was better.
There you go.
That will not take you so far.
Yes.
You will not look pretty if you cannot be able to deliver. There was a need to learn quickly, ask questions, develop. So I think privilege is good to have. There's so many people who have been raised in wealth. They have been through the best schools, perhaps. Their parents had the right networks. But if you see their lives now, it took them nowhere.
Absolutely.
It's harnessing privilege. And it also has a cross path with spirituality. But this is not a spiritual
Actually,
podcast.
I was going to raise that, but I said, let me But speak to me about that.
Yeah,
I think it's important.
Yeah, it's necessary. I think if I leave out the knowledge of how life is actually very spiritual, there's a physical realm and there's a spiritual realm. And many times we only see the outcomes. What we see in the physical, my presence here with you, is a reflection of the physical realm.
Yes.
But a lot of this work already began perhaps even years ago in a spiritual realm of alignment.
Correct.
And I've had a season in my life where things were really hard. I've gone through a really hard season, and I would compare my life and my knowledge before that season, and how I have handled things after that season, and trying to navigate a really tough times. And I think we'll talk about that in at some point of time in this podcast.
Yes.
You cannot. The privilege comes actually as a manifestation of some kind of spiritual breakthrough that already happened. I was born and raised Catholic.
Okay.
I spent some years where I was unsure about where I was. But a lot of my alignment spiritually reoccurred when I returned to the Catholic Church and just centered myself, silence and prayer, and really channeling Christ in some kind of, I would say, silence, and really trying to figure out who Christ is, and seeing just the decisions I made before I really understood him, and the decisions that I'm making now post actually understanding how this works. So getting back to my privilege conversation, privilege is a kind of a really good spiritual alignment where there's so many barriers and blockages that have been gotten rid of, for instance, and then there's a whole new world out there. But if you do not harness these opportunities well, there's just so much. I mean, there's
so much privilege can give you.
There's so much Christ gives you, and you can use it. You can bury it under the mattress, and you can utilize it to trade, and all that comes in your mind, your abilities, your connections, meeting with you, etc. So privilege is important. It plays a very significant role in catapulting you to where you can be. But there is so much work. There's so much work and effort that you need to put in to get to that level of growth.
That's profound. That's profound. So, Blue Wave.
Yeah, Blue Wave. So,
your baby.
Yeah, so just before I jump into Blue Wave, it's important that I just walk you through this really slight journey.
Sure.
So here I am. I've harnessed this knowledge on how to kind of condense operations to a single source or a single structure. There are different markets you're serving. You're serving markets with different countries. So it creates this, it demystifies the whole universe, and it creates a little bit of simplicity for me in my head. And I jumped from there, and I moved to APA, where I was head of products. And there now I'm allowed to innovate.
That's APA Insurance.
This is APA Insurance, yes. So I'm head of products, and I'm innovating. And there was some failures there. A lot of it was hype and
learnings as opposed to failure.
Failures that created learnings, indeed. But I think it's also important to accept when some are failures. Failures sometimes are important because they help you get someplace. I think there's a shyness of being honest about what didn't work. What was a challenge? It's important to have them.
We have this anathema of not wanting to talk about failure.
Indeed, yes.
And yet it is through failure that we grow and that we learn what works and what doesn't work. I love the American culture as opposed to the British culture that we grew up with. Because they were colonial masters. The American culture celebrates failure. In quotes. And I say this in quotes because it is through those failures, I love to call them learnings as opposed to
failures.
It is through those that people become stronger. You know, famously, Abraham Lincoln lost 11 elections before he won to his first election.
Exactly.
And yet, it is consensus that he is one of the greatest American presidents, or probably the greatest presidents across the world.
Indeed.
Yeah. So anyway, back to you. I thought it is important for us to dwell a little bit
I do,
deeper
and I
into
use
this.
failures actually a lot when I'm in interviews, when I'm pitching for clients, and what I always tell them is, "You're very lucky. You found me. I've gone through 10, 15 years in the gutter.
Yes.
I have fallen flat down, and you're very lucky that I'll not allow you to make some mistakes
that
at all,
I made.
That I made, yes. So you're already getting somebody who has been bruised and limping, and I've healed. Some of my bones are still healing. So those failures, indeed, I really loved them because they formed a very big part of how I decide things today.
Correct.
So I'm just a newbie in product development, and I'm so excited about it. It was a lot more about the pump than the product itself, and they don't fly. And so I've learned to be very humble, especially when you're doing go-to-market strategies with products. And my experience at APA was fantastic. They had one of the most fun-loving leadership that allowed you to be exactly who you are. There were no guardrails on how far you could innovate, and that was one special thing about the company. Innovation and just being authentically yourself was harnessed in me. And I jumped from APA now to where I would say is where my light bulbs now literally come on in regards to where my entrepreneurship journey would start. And that is when I was a country manager for one of, I would say, the pioneering microinsurance companies globally. And that was MicroEnsure. And they were ridiculously bold, I would say. Most of the team that I worked with had no insurance background whatsoever.
What do you mean? Zero insurance?
Zero. I mean, people from all walks of life. There were Americans, there were Brits, there were Kenyans, Ghanaians, everybody from every part of the continent, building this fast microinsurance, I would say, as it is envisioned today. I credit I credit the foundation of the birth of microinsurance through my experience at MicroEnsure.
Interesting.
Yes, because everything about insurance, they had no drama around all the challenges, the principles of insurance. They had literally nothing that was holding them back.
No legacy issues.
Nothing legacy issues when it comes to technology, legacy issues when it comes to product pricing. Like, what is insurance prime? They did not care. They did not want to care. They wanted to innovate and they wanted to disrupt a space. And it was such a fantastic time of my life to just be allowed to go wild with how you can create how you can innovate.
It's like Bezos with retail.
Exactly.
Zero retail experience.
Yeah, you and it's very important to sometimes have such in your team, and I look out for that even sometimes when I'm hiring. I try as much as possible to get fresh minds that do not have any kind of reservations and
legacy issues.
Indeed, you want to have some freedom for innovation, and I think insurance requires that, and urgently. There are very few people who see it that way, but we were able to really go miles that very many other organizations didn't, and created quite an interesting engine of how insurance is. And I recall that they created the first Airtel products across the continent, and we were creating a free product, and they should have even trademarked this, but they were what everybody calls freemium right now, which is free insurance at first before you start cross-selling to others, was actually birthed there.
Interesting.
Yeah, and what was to my advantage is there was one particular product that Airtel had specifically wanted, but how the company had been built, they could only focus on that one line, which was more of the life products and the subsidiary health products like hospital cash, etc. And Airtel wanted something, Airtel in Kenya. And I remember stepping out of MicroEnsure to deliver that product for Airtel.
Interesting.
And kind of that was now my transition into entrepreneurship and into starting my own, because there was a need, and nobody was willing to offer the client what they needed.
Let's take a deep dive into that.
Yes. So Airtel at the time were really keen on device insurance, and I recall that MicroEnsure was really more of designing tailor-made life products for their customer base, for Airtel, who was their main client, Airtel. So I morph into Blue Wave to serve a product need, because I'm seeing the potential that Airtel can, and the resistance, the company I was working for at the time, to offer these solutions. So I morphed into this, and it's serving Airtel with device insurance for a while. That I sit in one of these. It was an FSD sponsored kind of program.
That's financial sector deepening.
Financial sector deepening, correct. And in one of their researches, they tell us a story of Joseph.
I love that story of
Oh
Joseph.
my goodness, this changed my life. I still tell this story. I'm refusing to let go. It's 10 years almost, and I'm still.
There's
telling
even
the
a
story of
video.
There
of it.
is actually.
There's a video.
There's a
of it.
video of the story of Joseph and who we work for. So here I am, just doing that. You're starting to doing a startup, but it was almost like a blind. It was a blind business. There was
Blind
no
faith.
Yeah, not even faith.
Yeah.
It was.
Just blind.
You're just doing. You're doing this as a business opportunity. So you're doing it, and you're creating, and you can see, and you can visualize where this can take you. And then I sit. It was 5 minutes that changed my life completely. I sit in one of these FSD Kenyan sponsored projects with Action, and they tell us
Action.
It's a market builder, I think. They do a lot of research globally. They have a lot of business. They're also an investment. They have an impact investment arm as well. And I'm sitting there, and they tell us about the challenge in this conversation is, why isn't insurance penetration really low? Like, what is really wrong with the growth of insurance? Banking is taking off. By then, M-Pesa was like global. If you look at the fintechs that are all offering digital loans and platforms, everybody's scaling. Equity is now a humongous giant. Insurance is still like stuck in the Stone Age.
So to my viewers, insurance penetration rates in Kenya remain below 3%.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not growing, it's actually regressing.
Yeah.
And Kenya is probably one of the higher penetration rates in Africa.
Yeah.
The largest insurance penetration rates in Africa, in South Africa, double digit, I think, 12?
Yeah, actually, to some extent, especially because of their life business and their funeral business, sometimes it crosses 50%. Only in Southern Africa, there's an appreciation.
There's an appreciation.
And
the rest of Africa,
it's struggling below 2%. Some markets even barely even 1%.
What's the core issue there?
So we'll get to that just after I give you now this when this kind of like a roundabout turn. So I do a turnaround. We sit here. And they tell us a story of a real story of a sad though and real story about one of their interviewees rather, and Joseph, he's a fisherman in Lake Victoria,
Kisumu.
Yes, and his wife is diagnosed with kidney failure.
Wow.
And he needs 36,000 Kenya shillings. They're about to start dialysis. I think it was NHIF at the time. And he needed some money to just start the treatment, literally. He's unable to raise that money in his with his fishing income. So he goes to the community to fundraise. Takes him about 2 weeks or something, 2 to 3 weeks.
To fundraise the 36.
Yeah, to put the money together, church groups, family, etc. And he's just puts in together barely 12,000 Kenya shillings, about $100 thereabout. And he's forced to now sell his boat to take his wife for initial treatment. This is a true story, sadly. And he manages to make the money, gets her admitted. A few weeks later, she passes on. The treatment started too late. The kidney failure had progressed, and she passes on.
Wow.
He goes back to the community to fundraise for her burial. And literally everybody now marshals to fundraise for the burial because of the stigma, I guess, involved around not supporting the dead. I don't even know where that comes from.
But we seem to be more
Yeah,
easier to fundraise for burials
exactly
than for
real life threatening shocks that can really change, literally even save her life. He raises more than double what he needed to just take her for treatment in the first place during the burial phase, which is such a sad reality of how most of us Africans address risk. So in that boardroom, I did shed a tear, and it just changed my life. And I said, it's really time that somebody steps up and innovates for Joseph. This is where Africa is. Joseph is 80% of all of us, if not 90%. His story is all of us. If you look through your phone, there's always a WhatsApp group here fundraising for this,
100%.
that, and the other. So there's a big mismatch, and there's a big market cost. But when I was getting into this, it was more of a passion project, and I could really now visualize that this is what Africa needs to solve if insurance has got to move the pin a little bit. So I really start digging into solving Joseph's story. And we say as Blue Wave, that's our motto. At Blue Wave, we work for Joseph. He is our client. He's literally who we work for. He's our boss. And we have to see to it that he can access products. So that now gets to your question. What is the issue? Why couldn't Joseph access? When we did different kind of focus groups, and just targeting this segment, people who and Joseph is anyone whose money is not guaranteed. I would make 1,000 shillings today. I'll probably make 3,000 tomorrow. I'll probably make nothing for the next 4 days.
Correct.
I will still face the same shocks as everybody 100%. Did, and I still have capacity to pay for insurance products that are tailor made for my lifestyle. Yeah. So the one of the 4 things I would say they're called barriers is the cost barrier. How insurance is tailor-made, and taking you back to the boardrooms while I was shadowing some of these large CEOs.
Yes.
I would see how they will make their decisions, their budgets for the next year. There was always such a huge fantasy about microinsurance, but it all ends up in huge off Nairobi trips, and we are shooting, we're playing golf, and we are in some really fancy hotels doing strategy.
What's this fantasy about microinsurance?
The fantasy is everyone's dream to serve the mass market segment, but that resilience and grit to get there, there's a lot of fatigue.
He's doing jack about it.
Yes, because when they touch it a little bit, it's too expensive and painful, and they withdraw. They want quick results. They're used to it. One round of golf at Windsor with the MD of one huge corporate, they close 1 billion worth of premiums. Why will they think about Joseph? So I could see that.
There is no profit conversation around Joseph.
And I empathize with them because their board members will ask them, Joseph's story will not touch them, and their board members will want quick results and profits.
But Adelaide, isn't this what the same financial services industry used to say about mobile money before
exactly M-Pesa? Before the likes of Equity were brave enough to give even zero-rated bank account opening fees, and just there's that painful phase which I would implore all insurance companies, because they have the muscle, they have the capacity, unlike the likes of us Blue Wave who would require quite a lot of muscle and they already have the infrastructure.
They already have the muscle.
They have the muscle, the infrastructure, the teams, the technology, teams in hundreds.
The will is just what is not there.
The understanding, I think, and the grit to just wade through that mud a little bit longer. The grit, it's a grit that's lacking. And I just found myself paralyzed with this Joseph story that I cannot shake myself off it, no matter how much I want to.
How's Blue Wave doing things?
So how Blue Wave does things is we have to be very inexpensive for starters. And I try to piggyback ride on some of the infrastructure that insurance companies have already built and ensure that I'm not stepping on toes in regards to their profitability. And I still have to ensure that Joseph can be reached somewhat.
Okay.
So I've addressed 4 core barriers
Okay.
of his uptake.
Number 1.
Cost. The way the products have been designed before, they can't cater to him. They've been designed for those who have clear income. By the 24th, the 25th, there's a check clearing, so they get money. So they cannot have that. They need that kind of fluctuation in premiums,
Yeah.
and at the same time fluctuation even in benefits. And then that's what we are
Interesting.
building. So we have built products. For instance, we have a project in Uganda where if you pay a certain premium, you qualify for X amount of benefit.
Okay.
So if you can't afford the whole $500,000 benefit,
Pay for what you can afford.
You can afford 100,000 worth of benefit, and that'll cost you maybe $10 or 1,000 shillings perhaps for the year. And that will still give you quite access. You will not wait to fundraise to be able to start treatment. And perhaps you just need to start treatment on time. So we need to have that kind of flexibility. It's been a problem because insurance companies, how their products have been priced and have been vetted by the actuaries, who sometimes I say I'm glad I am, because I can speak with confidence and say I also have the understanding that this will still get us profitable.
So let's step back 1 minute.
Yeah.
Insurance penetration rates are super low.
Yeah.
Cost of insurance.
Trust is an issue.
You actually remove that word from my mouth. Trust is an issue.
Yes.
How do we solve for trust?
So we solve for trust in different levels. They would trust that M-Pesa will not let them down. They will trust perhaps that their bank would deliver because there's a sense of working relationship that has been ongoing for many years. They will trust they'll trust that if I buy this particular product, I will receive it. So you make insurance a little bit more tangible to them with avenues that they can trust. So what Blue Wave does is, apart from designing products that can meet their fluctuating income, and we are not competing with their school fees, we are not competing with their food costs, we're not competing with their day-to-day wallet sizes. We ensure that they can now put their money and they receive it. And the interesting thing, even with our focus groups, the moment but that is in understanding. But trust specifically, we partner. Okay. So we partner with their bankers. We partner with the ecosystems that they already belong to. We partner with the person who gives them farm inputs, because they know they'll get the seeds anyway. So we build insurance within these trusted avenues.
Wow.
So we really focus a lot. A lot of our core business will not be the retail client, because we know that we have to still overcome this trust barrier.
Yeah.
So we'll I don't want to say mask insurance, but we'll build it within avenues that they can trust and believe that we will deliver. We will deliver you what you need at the time you need it. Then there's also another issue, which is understanding. But this one is, I would say that over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been an appreciation.
An understanding of the insurance product
Yeah, that was
itself.
a huge issue. That was a huge issue. I've paid you my premiums. I've paid consistently. I've not had a claim. If I put my money in the bank and I don't withdraw it, I expect to still have it there.
Correct.
So we had to deal with the understanding gap as well. Just ensure that you can bridge for them to understand that if insurance is really about the whole community coming together. The only reason you're getting access to 1 million shillings worth of health benefits and only paying a little is because all of you are doing it. And some of you credited it, some of you credited this account, others didn't. So there's a lot of need. The understanding gap was really there. And once they understand, this is the sweet spot. This segment, as soon as they understand how insurance works, they're ready to even triple the benefit.
They're your loyal.
Oh yeah,
partners.
they're your loyal. They freak out when the system fails and they don't get the message. They will call the call center. I didn't get my message. I really want to make sure that I want to have this product, because they understand it. They understand it. And then lastly, which is a big part of our business, and I remember I put this last. We're an insurtech, but if I don't solve the cost, the trust, the understanding barriers, nothing in the world will save me. that will make this affordable and
100%,
accessible.
100%.
So that's where technology comes in. So we have put in a huge investment on building the infrastructure to the very basic channel,
Okay.
such that we don't lock anybody out completely, and they can be able to access.
Wow.
We with the microinsurance, you can't have an agent walking door to door to collect 10 shillings worth of premiums.
It has to be here on your
It
phone.
has to be easy. It has to be digital. It has to be quick. It has to be real time. And there's that trust
and
issue.
understandable.
And indeed, and that there's a trust issue, so they want to feel like there's something tangible for them to see how they can be able to utilize. And
Wow.
we have been growing out of the very old school microinsurance products. Microinsurance products were always tailor-made to be the cheap products, I would say, but the value was also very limiting.
Yeah.
So we are now morphing into the more complex, comprehensive, inpatient, outpatient, optical, dental, maternity, and still putting it at a price that's flexible.
Quite interesting.
And its utilization according to how they can afford. So it's been a journey of I would say just really grinding through the dynamics.
BST, blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh, I think it's more than blood, sweat, and tears. I feel like the bombs always igniting around me,
Yes.
but the field is looking cleaner now.
Okay.
We can know when to jump through the minefields a little bit easier. We're understanding how to price a little bit better.
Okay.
We're understanding how to communicate a little bit better depending on the different markets. The Malawi market is different. DRC is a little bit difficult, but it's also a very affluent market when it comes to business.
interesting. We always seem to think that Africa is one homogeneous market.
Oh my Lord, no, it's not.
It's 54 different countries.
It is 54 different markets with 54 different cultures, with 54 different infrastructure when it comes to fintech, with 54 different political dynamics. So you have to wade through different kind of bombshells. How is the political atmosphere behaving?
So how are you navigating through all that?
So you just have to be patient. You have to be patient. And that's what I mean, that there's that grit of patience that most people are lacking. There's a lot of patience. There's a time I would say DRC was booming, and then there was a little bit of strife last year. The last year has been very hard for DRC. So you pull back a bit, and when you see things are getting better, or you zone, there's some zones that are hot spots, so you deal with business. And DRC has massive population for microinsurance. It's so ideal. It's a dollarized market. So they're spenders.
Dollarized.
It's dollarized.
Completely.
So, So these are spenders, and the populations are. They say that if you have even just a plate of sweets, in 30 minutes you have market in DRC. You can sell anything in DRC and make it. But you see now the political environment again can clash with you. So sometimes you'll have to pull back in as much as you've put an investment of building and building. Like I remember we built quite a lot for DRC and then we had to pull back, and a lot of that investment was just on standby.
Yes.
Uganda is very welcoming. Kenya is busy. It's a very busy market. There's so many players. Kenyans, I think we are all naturally aggressive. So you find that you're competing with so many. When you go to some other markets, they're very welcoming. They're very happy to help you. Some of them even think maybe you're suffering in your country. That's why you've come all the way. I remember being asked.
Real?
I remember being asked in Uganda. I'm like, is there a food problem? Like, you've had to come all this way looking for new markets. There must be.
They're not understanding expansion.
They do not.
For real.
Feel it. But it's just really, but they're very welcoming. It's a beautiful market, Uganda. It has a very good return on investment as well. And so you can see that this touching story completely changes course of how Blue Wave was to become.
That's correct.
And I just find myself immersed in this gravity. And trust me, Ali, no matter how hard I try to escape it, it yanks me back.
It pulls you back.
It yanks me back.
Yes.
So it's where I am now.
So a couple of years ago, there was a big story about you being acquired by another insurtech.
Yes.
Would you like to delve a little bit into that and what happened there and where you are at and what are the lessons?
Oh, yeah. So I did touch a little bit lightly that when I was talking about spirituality and I talked about phases of my career journey, I was slapped out of a comfort zone. I was getting off a very rocky marriage, and it was a very expensive ticket. It was a very expensive exit, I would say.
Okay.
And it was coming. My vision to get acquired was because of the pains that I was suffering at the time. And no matter how I look at it, I've had moments where I really recalculate how my decision making was at that time, and if I would have done anything differently. And I cannot see any other way out. I was slapped at the time with almost 300,000 US dollars worth of debt. I was literally facing bankruptcy if I was not going to be smart enough. And some investors were, it was just post-COVID actually.
Yeah.
Literally 2020, end of 2020. I think everybody is now through the COVID shock, and maybe investors are also having the post-COVID dilemma, what has happened to our investments. So there was a little bit of all that mixed in between. And
Anxiety.
there's a lot of anxiety about business. And what just slapped me on the face was a really big fallout with my directors and a shareholder.
Wow.
That was the most brutal, I would say, boxing match I've ever encountered. And I had to grasp on every single thing that I could to just stay afloat. Business, there was a huge push and pull. Here I was serving 3 markets. There was already another investor looking to put in business, and we had advanced in the conversation significantly.
But then they had to pull back.
So they had to pull back. Everything was frozen, literally. And with the COVID narrative, it was so easy to pull back. And then a big bombshell occurs, my safety net, I would say. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you have some kind of a safety net of a home, maybe a husband who is providing your daily meals, your daily day-to-day needs and everything, you're a bit, you're cushioned. Oh, yeah. So all that was just swept off my foot, and I found myself not just falling, but also heavy. I had a challenge with one of my investors, and they wanted to claw back an investment, and it was such a tug of war. And then I had partners. That's when I was building the DRC business, and we already had a large telco that has signed up. We already have a contract, and we're doing the development. We have partners in Malawi. We have some retail business here in Kenya, although Kenya had not really kicked off as I would have liked at the time, but the regional business was looking really good. And then there's this lifeline that is just yanked off me.
Wow.
And I'm here now finding myself in addressing court cases. I'm trying to manage all manner of things. And one of the companies throws me a lifeboat, just a buoy, I would say. So I'm in the middle of the ocean, literally just clasping for breath, and a buoy is thrown my way, and I had no choice but to grab it, because it came with some kind of a reprieve. But if I was wiser then, some of these challenges that I was experiencing, I would not have put them to the forefront. That is perhaps some of the lessons I would have learned. When it comes to mergers, acquisitions, you still want to make sure you're the prettiest girl in the room. And you don't want them to know a little bit about your hang-ups, and too much detail and information sometimes is unnecessary. There's necessary information about the level of the business that is really important. That you cannot skimp through that.
So how do you balance that with the DD process, the due diligence and disclosure process?
So that was my problem then, because you're already coming in with a huge need. You're clasping. You have partners to resolve. You have these investors to make sure you've impressed. So I was literally just taking on to anything that was thrown my way, to the point where they were clawing and clawing and clawing and clawing too far, where I was losing my identity completely, and I froze. I was like, it was reaching a point, I was literally to give my entire business and remain with nothing almost, and fall back into a role as an employee that even to some extent, was not even giving me the satisfaction of to deliver what I needed. So it was a humongous challenge. And the speed at which they also wanted to run, because they were also fundraising. They were also fundraising at the time.
They
and
were,
it was
they were also fundraising.
They were also fundraising. And it was necessary for them to close their round really quickly. So I found that I was giving in too quickly, despite I to some extent I didn't. My lawyers were completely discouraging some decisions, but because of the nature of the tug of war that I was also having with my directors at the time, the shareholders, with some other personal things that were coming my way, I was finding that I was really compromising. You cannot compromise at an acquisition. You cannot compromise at all. You have to be strong to what you believe in. I was bringing in such huge partners at the time, I recall. I was bringing another telco that was in 14 markets. I was bringing a lot to the table, but I was
value.
so blinded by the drama that was happening in the shadows. So that didn't work. It didn't work. And I did lose a lot because messaging had already gone out, despite my lawyer's advisory. The messaging had already gone out, and it was very clear to me that I cannot take this deal. This is not a good deal, no matter how far you're drowning.
So you pulled out.
I did pull out. I let the contract. We had a contract of some sort running for 2 years. I let that run through. I played my role well because it was necessary that I don't antagonize that. So lessons here is, I think there's still an absolute huge space, especially for the insurtechs, to come together. I think we can do a lot more when we come together. I'm still completely sold to that agenda. We are wasting too much. Yeah. However, do not rush to it. Make sure you're sure you have a pot of gold and it's valuable. Harness it. Don't rush to it. So that to me was. It was painful. It was painful to do. I think it was a loss of opportunity for both of us. Really, I think we would have been very far if we stuck to the course. But they had reasons as to why they priced the transaction as they did. But it was just not working. And that's when I just took the leap and took the Asia Pacific role with AIG at that time.
So. Interesting.
Yeah.
Employee.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And then employed again.
Yes.
So you moved to...
I moved to Singapore.
You moved to Singapore.
Yes, I did. I moved to Singapore.
Tell us a little bit more about this role.
So this role was fantastic. It was a dream job, really. I was head of partnerships for AIG. AIG Global, but dealing with their Asia Pacific market. Whoa. So I was running partnerships for about 14 countries.
So how did you feel when they reached out to you to take this role?
My goodness, it was, that realigns again with my conversation around spirituality and alignment and privilege and all those things, and harnessing all those things to get you to where you are. So it was such a... Have you ever been locked in a room for 3 years and you finally just get the sun on your face?
Yes.
And you're...
I have never, but I can just imagine.
You can just imagine. And maybe you're in jail, and then all of a sudden there's that sense of... Actually, the best is you've been in jail, and you've never been I've never been in jail. But I'm just imagining that you are locked somewhere in this really hard place, and then you're set free. That is how this job felt for me. And it set me free to be what I love to do, building partnerships. So
what? Did they just reach out to you?
It's a network that I had from before, and they had seen and had followed the work I'm doing. I did aggressive interviews, of course, to get me to where I was. But it's also just being in the line path with the right person who puts your name through, and you just go through the recruitment journey as usual. Which was all,
Singapore.
Yes. Oh my Lord, that is a futuristic country. Everything is so perfect there. Everybody's expected to be perfect. They have done so well in building the infrastructure and tech. So basically, if you want to serve Asia Pacific, You want to be in Singapore.
Yes.
Singapore is the size of Nairobi, I think slightly smaller.
Whoa.
Yeah, it has maybe 5-6 million people altogether. But it's a powerhouse of the Asia Pacific
100%.
region. It is.
100%.
So it's just a perfect hub to harness businesses across. You must have some kind of holdings at Singapore. It was such an eye opener for me.
Amazing.
So just stepping out of my naivety of a continent, a huge continent. Africa is a huge continent, don't get me wrong. But seeing world from a global lens, being African, but still being able to narrow down partnerships for Malaysia, for Thailand, for the Philippines, for all this, and having those conversations and still be very relevant and still add value.
That must have been accelerating.
It was accelerating. It was nice, and it extended also to Australia and New Zealand. So just learning. My stint there was not long enough as I would have liked because of family issues. My children were very young, and for some reason I couldn't move with them quite quickly.
Okay.
And they were young and they were very vulnerable, and I had to throw the mummy card and just say that this is important for me to focus on, and these opportunities will come, of course. So, but that stint there helped me know that the world is really just always at our palm. You just have to have the right mindset and you can achieve anything. So I did have some good wins in the very short time I was there. So some e-commerce launches happen in a market or two, and really just start mirroring their behavior and comparing it with Africa. Very lots of similarities. Insurance is insurance everywhere. So there's a lot of copy paste and a lot of how the policies are and the thought process. But what I think was of value to them was just my interactions with the innovation of insurance products for large aggregators. So duplicating that with different and being able to be confident when you're talking to a telco, a global telco, they want somebody who can be confident that they know what they're
100%,
saying.
yes.
When you're talking to a bank, they want somebody who can say, I've tried this, I've experimented this with Barclays, these were the results, this is how we can tweak this product. And sometimes that's all the insurance companies need. Somebody who they can put in a room and they're sure that she'll be saying what they...
So how long were you there?
Just about a year plus.
A year plus.
A year plus. I'd have liked it to be a lot longer.
A world of opportunity and experience.
Oh my, that was just all I needed to even, in fact, handle all and pay off some of my previous the directors who were a bit of a problem for me. I sorted out, there was a buyout for one of my investors. I sorted that. So just a year was able to remove me from that tense state that I was in.
Wow.
And now I'm completely free to start innovating without too many guardrails and too many chains.
So now you're fully back at...
I'm fully back again at Blue Wave.
Wow,
with
that's
no
an
chains.
amazing
I know.
story.
Coming back, at the time we were looking at almost 30 million. I was 30 million in the red. And that just somewhat evaporated. So now you're building again from scratch, literally. I always say we're a startup again. And just now being
How are you feeling
unhinged.
about that?
It is so freeing to wake up and not have to be hinged. It allows you to dream. It has given me a boldness. It has given me confidence. Of course, I have the lessons. I'm very careful now with the kind of partnerships that I bring on board. I'm very careful. I never read contracts. I always just threw them to the contract guy. I always threw them to the contract guy.
Now you read them.
I read contracts. I do because I know what it is to be in civil court and you're dealing with lawsuits and my Lord.
I love your vulnerability on this. Saying that you never used to read contracts.
I did not.
You need to trusted your lawyers and stuff like that.
Yes, and I trusted the guy who reads the contract. I trusted the ops person to look through the fine print.
And now you're
Everything
going
counts.
through every little detail.
I do that myself.
What's the lesson there?
I copy paste
for
on.
entrepreneurs.
Please understand the nature of partnerships. People are so... There's trigger friendly and there's legal friendly.
It is for me,
Yeah.
it is the boring stuff
That counts.
that counts.
Oh my gosh, they do.
Yeah, you can get all that exciting stuff, and
Lord.
I've done this and I've done that, but the things that are unseen,
Those ones you'll be in jail. By the
those
way,
are the ones.
committees for everyone.
Yeah.
I tell you, you can find yourself.
It's crazy.
It's so near, and we as startups, we take a lot of this for granted. We take a lot for granted.
Wow.
But I don't think you can scale to some levels
Without the details.
you have to grow up.
agree.
You have to absolutely grow up. You will not scale to some heights if you can't grow beyond. So nowadays, AI, Claude, DeepSeek,
Whatever.
this contract, where can it be antagonizing for me? Please give me insights of what this is about. Let me, like you have to. You absolutely have to grow up, and nobody cares that you're a good person.
No, nobody
that you
cares.
you love Joseph and you're working for Joseph
Nobody cares.
and you're trying to solve an impact
No
story in
one
Africa.
cares.
Or they will come for your neck. Oh, they will. So
So what's the future looking like for
wow.
Adelaide
I'm
and for Blue
still,
Wave?
my dream here is to really embed myself with a large, either a telco or a large insurer. My dream here is to become an insurance company eventually. But I don't think we are ready yet. We still have some milestones to cross over.
So you're still partnering with insurance companies?
We're still partnering with insurance companies. We still have built the technology, but most of the insurance companies either cannot or do not want to develop.
So one of
this-
the most important assets you still have
Yeah.
is your tech.
That is our major asset, really. And I think beyond the tech is the know-how of what the
know-how.
tech should do. Because I've discovered you can build tech even overnight.
Correct.
But if you don't know what you're building, you're going nowhere.
Absolutely.
So and I think that's the grace that I'm always so grateful for. That in as much as a lot of what I had was stripped away, I was really battered, I tell you. I was beaten. But at the end of the day, it's really what you have that can speak for you, that will validate you,
Wow.
and that will get you still up and standing.
Adelaide, thank you so much. I have loved this conversation. I've
Yeah.
loved the vulnerability you've shown,
You're welcome.
the lessons
Yeah.
from employee to senior person
Yeah.
to entrepreneur
Yeah.
to employee again
Yeah.
and to now dreaming again with
Again.
Blue Wave.
Yeah.
Here's to wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
Right?
you.
And to my viewers, this has been a super interesting story for me. I have known Adelaide for a couple of years. We have tried to have this conversation, but finally, here we are.
Finally, yes.
Adelaide, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am hoping your story will inspire others.
Yes, indeed.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Great.
Bye.